Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and for the first time on Google Hangouts I'm joined by Stephen Kern for our usual FiST Chat. How are we today, Steve? It's looking a little different today.
It is, Ben. Thank you very much. Stand back, FiST Chat fans. We're coming to you courtesy of Google Plus in a hangout. Love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Google.
Absolutely. And today we'll be talking a bit about that. But before we get into it, our usual housekeeping, don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get all our links there. You can subscribe to our audio via iTunes, RSS and FeedBurner. Just on that, we've had a few technical issues with our iTunes feed. Our last episode didn't appear when you went to subscribe to it for some reason. And I'm pretty sure, knowing how these things turn out, it'll probably pop up at the same time as this episode pops up for subscribing. So I'm not sure what happened there, but apologies for that. And just as another curious little thing, we heard that that Google was killing support for FeedBurner in the coming months, which means we'll won't be able to use that as a medium either. So we'll have another look at some other alternatives, and maybe we'll talk about that at some other point too. You know, this RSS feeds are all about what we do in podcasts, but I'm not sure what we'll have to do with that.
You probably don't need RSS feeds in Google Plus, and that would be my tip.
Absolutely. So, of course, you can also subscribe to our video, YouTube, Vimeo, and Digicosm TV. That's why we have multiple channels. So, if one goes down, you can go and pop in and have a look at another one. You can interact with us on Twitter, Google Plus, and Facebook. Love to hear from you. And of course our ebook, the FiST Report, fistreport.com, available on Amazon for a huge 99 cents. So great value, and I'm sure you'll find it a good read. And we've also got our supplementary content, the weekly blogs, photography on Instagram and Flickr, and of course recommend us to anyone who may be interested. Now we've got a lot to go through today. There's been quite a few notable stories. But just going back to last week's episode, we were talking about Murdoch's paywall, and we asked the question on Friday via poll: did Murdoch's online paywalls fail? Didn't get too many responses, unfortunately. Maybe no one cared, but we had 78% people saying yes and 22% saying no. I don't know what that indicates to you, Steve, but I'm thinking the low vote turnout might have a ho-hum kind of feel to it at any rate.
Well, that's right. FiST Chat fans, we did pose the question. This is what we heard. Nothing but the crickets, right? So, but I think, Ben, that the question's pretty easy to answer. Of course it failed. To this point, yeah, I don't know that it'll fail longer term, and we'll probably write about these things a little bit more in our blogs. But I think the paywall was very much a Web 2.0 design. It's a browser design,
yeah,
and it doesn't really address the way that news media is going, which is via mobile devices. The fact that journalism is becoming a mix of opinion and discussion, and our opinion and discussion, as is any FiST Chat fans, is just as valid as anyone else's, and we use social media to get those ideas out there. So I think that really if News Corp were to think about it a little bit more, you'd probably design an app. You probably could charge for that app, and that might be a paywall.
Yep, and be a lot better option.
Well, you could have discussions on there, so you wouldn't need general discussion through Twitter. You could have Twitter style discussions alongside, not like the browser based stuff that we have today, but like actual active discussions, and the same for actual locations and going to news. And if there was a small charge to use those apps, like there are on a lot of apps now that we use, I don't think people would notice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll move on. Apart from that, we'll just say we encourage you all to get into our polls and let us know what you think, because we want to know. We want to have these discussions, and we want to get some answers out of you.
That's right. We don't want to listen to crickets.
Absolutely. All right. We've been talking about the future of a few things lately, but today we'll focus on communication and where that's going. And it's sort of an interesting period. I actually wrote a blog for Bit Rebels about a week or so ago, where not saying anything that nobody already knows, just highlighting the fact that the idea of a voice line, the traditional telcos, the way they work with, their phones, the phone plans and all that sort of thing, landlines, this is all going to get eroded in the face of data communication. So everything's going to be across the internet. For example, we're doing this FiST chat episode using Google Hangouts, or whether you're using Skype or some sort of other video service, this is going across the internet using data. Now, we could just be sitting here having a chat, not recording anything as well. So again, that's another form of communication.
Could we ban?
So in that respect, it used to be that it had to be on a phone, and for quite a long time, it was only a landline. So
that's right.
And a lot of people, I don't think, remember that it's mobiles really. Well, when were they really hitting the big time? It would have been the late 90s, early 2000s, where it really took off.
2000s, actually, yeah.
Yeah. So now we've got this whole plethora of devices that we use. So this idea of everything being streamed across the internet, all these telcos are going to become data carriers, essentially.
Oh, exactly. And I think you've hit, as a bit of an extension of the kind of paywall thinking. I don't think people realise it, but the browser's dead, and the PC you're using to access that browser is dead as well. And Steve Jobs said it, Microsoft have jumped on board, and I think Google know it all too well. Google Hangouts are a very interesting place. FiST Chat fans, if you haven't had a look, I would strongly encourage you. Well, I mean, when you talk about how things are changing, there is no more one mode of communication. FiST Chat uses several platforms to get out there every week, and effectively every individual can do the same thing as well. You can Facebook where you're at, you can tweet where you're at, you can use any one of a number of apps to show your location or what you're doing through social media channels. And, you can post things about yourself as photos, or you can do it by location. You can share data in a whole lot of ways. And I mean, let's face it now, today's phones aren't phones anymore. They're handheld devices that actually don't make very good calls most of the time.
But the funny thing is that there's plenty of apps that do data calls too. So obviously,
exactly.
And they sometimes sound better as long as your connection speed is fast enough.
Oh, exactly. And what do you think? Because while we're on Google Hangout, I actually think that it's probably a little bit too far ahead of its time just yet, but I think it'll get there. But to me, it seems like a bizarre mix of Skype, Facebook, Twitter, and a whole range of other social media apps. It's good, but it's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I almost find it interesting that Facebook doesn't have this type of integration into their platform, because they're all about communication. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say this is what Facebook's all about. Too busy thinking about monetizing social media and not actual function. And I do have to say, you're absolutely right. Why Facebook hasn't developed a lot of the things that we're enjoying on Google Hangout at the moment beats me.
Or maybe, at the end of the day, I don't know what the adoption rates are like, but Facebook still has. That's where everyone's at. And I don't think anytime soon Google is going to be able to attract all of those people over to Google Plus, because they're only going to use one platform for the most part. It's only going to be, guys like us that need to be across multiple platforms for to broadcast content, or the tech heads who really are into having all of these accounts that need to, because they enjoy them or play around with them.
Because they don't have lives.
Exactly. But
But on that, I mean, we've often spoken about the number of operating systems that we think, eventually, or who will win out, or I guess there's a maximum number, maybe three at the moment. Do you think that there's only really room for a certain number of social media channels? Because if you can't get out to everyone, then a social media channel just becomes a text message.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who knows? It depends on whether people are happy to be locked into one particular place or not. Facebook keeps getting flack for their privacy issues and the way they handle it. But then a lot of them will have this problem because it's an online service and can be hacked. It's hard to say. At the end of the day, people, I don't think, are gonna. I guess again, it's like the operating system thing. It's like the device thing. Why is it that for me, I really really like Windows Phone. I mean, I think it's a really good operating system and technology, and especially on some of the Nokia phones, it looks really good. But it's not taking off because Android via Google and Apple with the iPhone have just cornered that market. When you walk into a store to buy a smartphone, you're only going to get those two choices thrown at you. And if you ask about the Windows Phone, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's the other thing. But we really think you should be taking one of these.
Well, and then they do have a point at the moment. Well, let's go back 10 years ago. Really, should you have bought any phone besides a Nokia?
Yeah.
Nokia's made great calls, and they started putting cameras on them. They were still great phones. Even probably up until about 2005.
Yeah.
I still have very fond memories of my N73. But, since obviously the Samsung and Apple phones are much, much better, and it's taken out Nokia, it's taken out BlackBerry. But as you say, it'll be the next generation of technology that'll be the game changer. It won't be the systems.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think, with these social channels or these, these platforms which people can use to broadcast either to people they don't know or people they do know. It's all social media effectively. Yeah. And that's very interesting to see what will come up and what will change.
Well, it's just finally looking further into the future, I would say that this integration between all of these types of things is sort of like a given. Social media, being able to call, text, message, whatever, all these things will interact very simply and very easily as long as you're near a screen or something that will resemble a screen, whether that's Google Glasses or maybe a watch you're wearing, not foreshadowing any of potential rumors that are going around there. But the thing is, that's all very exciting and all, but it would seem that the only thing that might slow that down is, these big tech giants sort of slugging it out against each other over rights and patents and trying to stop each other from, integrating with each other. Because at the end of the day, they all seem to develop parts of the technology, but they don't together as a whole have created one thing that can all integrate together.
Yeah, look, and I think that's really, really interesting because it gets back to the old sort of PC wars, and it's interesting because you'll lock people into a social media brand, kind of Coke v Pepsi, So you obviously got Facebook, and you'll have whoever the challenger is, or maybe there'll be several challengers, but they're never going to work together. Facebook is never going to let you broadcast to its two challengers, even though it would probably make sense. I mean, do you think, for instance, they'd ever charge us for social media? I mean, social media, just like the internet for during the browser era, is free. Do you think they'll ever charge us for social media down the track? Because if they do, then it would make sense that different platforms would still speak. So you might be on Facebook, but you'd post on Google Hangout, or your post would go to Google Hangout, and all universally the big social media channels, because you were paying for it.
Just thinking about that, I'm thinking that might tie in with Murdoch's paywall and go down the tube if they try and charge for something like that. I just think that it's very difficult to charge for something on the internet because there's always something else that can be used for free, or read for free, or information that can be found for free.
Interesting, Ben, because Web 2.0 was all about charging for the internet. And I just wonder, I mean, that's obviously the larger plan. And I'm sure that those people that bought us Web 2.0 haven't given up on charging us for using the internet yet. They just haven't worked out how.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, well, we might have to move on now because we've got quite a lot of news bites to get through. Now, we'll start with our film news bite. Very funny one. Suing Hollywood. Maybe Iran has the right idea. This is from The Age. Iran wants to sue Hollywood over its cultural stereotyping, but perhaps they should get in line with all the other offended nations, including ours, and meaning The Age is from Australia. I immediately, even though it's not a film, I immediately thought of the Simpsons episode where the Simpsons go to Australia, and there's that scene where they, one disgruntled Australian wants to complain to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister's lazing about in a pool, because, Prime Ministers don't have anything to do, and he's going, oh, that's a bleeding outrage, that is, like the country bumpkins. I thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen, and no way was I offended as an Australian seeing that. I don't know, is this just another thing, for Iran to just get upset with America and, fling their noses at them? I mean, I'm pretty sure that in Argo, they weren't portrayed in the most accurate light, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do?
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't sympathise with Iran at all, but I just like the idea of suing Hollywood.
Because they got more than enough money to go around.
I just want to see them, put out another Lemon like Waterworld and see a class action against the studio for putting us through it.
That's offensive.
That's offensive to me, yeah.
But what do you think about this thing of cultural stereotyping? I mean, it's been happening forever and a day, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, but, they do tackle that, as you would know, Ben, in production by, certainly in a lot of soap operas and things, they have a certain number of women or a certain number of men and a certain number of different races and, to accurately portray society. Good on them. If they think that works, but it's always going to be a stereotype. I don't think you can get around it.
And I think in most of these things, you just don't take it seriously. At the end of the day, it's just entertainment and not really that important in the grand scheme of things.
Well, that's right. And I mean, Die Hard, which is just Die Hard 4 has just been released.
5, the one in Russia.
Yeah, but the first 3 and even the 4th one, I'm sure, is the same villain stereotype. And, maybe villains could get together and sue Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, we'll move on to our science news bites, and we've got 2 big ones, and we've covered these before. We'll start with the Mars rover, and it's apparently found conditions once suited life on Mars. NASA says analysis of rock samples from Mars has shown that the red planet will once have been capable of supporting life. Analysis of Mars rocks by the Curiosity rover uncovered the building blocks of life, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and evidence the planet could once have supported organisms. And this is from the ABC. Not really that surprising, really. I mean, that's kind of where the trajectory of what the whole point of the whole expedition was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, still think they're holding back, Ben. I haven't given up hope that there may be life there right now. And as we spoke about last time, Curiosity can't detect life. It can detect signs of life, which is a real bummer, really. But I would say that what they're doing is they're going through it piece by piece. We've known for a while from the rock formations on Mars that there must have been running water. We've known for a while that there would have been the conditions, maybe not too dissimilar to Earth in terms of an atmosphere and a climate. But it didn't last very long. May have been long enough for life. Obviously, they've found compounds which suggest life existed.
Yeah.
The big question is, Ben, will they dig deep enough into that soil? Will they find signs of life there today.
Well, when they do and they announce it, we'll be all over it. That's guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely. It's big news, big news.
Now, speaking of being all over it, our other science news bite, the God particle found. Physicists say they've discovered a Higgs boson. From the age, the search is all but over for the so-called God particle that is a crucial building block of the universe. Physicists said on Thursday they believe they've discovered the subatomic particle predicted nearly half a century ago, which will go a long way toward explaining what gives electrons and all matter in the universe size and shape. Now, to make a distinction, they made a big announcement last year, but this seems a lot more definite, like they've backed it up.
Yeah. So this is the 5 sigma result, I guess. That's 99.99999% certain. That's pretty certain.
So
before they were only 99.9.
So is there anything different than what happened before, like with the announcement before? What makes this different now for them?
Oh, they've just looked at the data again and again and again from every angle, and now they're very certain. They're so certain now they're willing to say they found it. It's a bit like signs of life on Mars with Curiosity, actually.
Yeah.
Even if they thought that the evidence that they were seeing there on Mars now suggested there might be life there at the moment, they wouldn't be saying anything for another 8 months until they look at the data from every way. And this has been the same with the Higgs boson. So it's very exciting. The standard model actually exists, but I don't think they've actually said anything about the specific size yet, and that will have an implication as to, I guess, how many parallel universes there are, or something ridiculous like that. Sorry, not ridiculous, just something out there like that.
Yeah, well, we'll be on top of that as well when there's more announcements in the future.
I don't want 10,000 emails from CERN, no.
No, it fans the imagination at any rate. We'll get on to our tech news bites again from The Age. We've got 2 of them. Beijing jamming Radio Australia. A growing electronic blitzkrieg by Beijing, blasted by Barack Obama as state-sponsored hacking and now extending to the jamming of Australia's radio news broadcasts in Asia, threatens to derail delicate negotiations for the ABC to win television rights in China. It's a bit of a loaded statement, that one. I'm seeing the state-sponsored hacking thing, and I'm also seeing this thing about winning television rights, and I'm just wondering if there's a whole lot of stuff going on in there that we have to read between the lines.
Oh, there definitely is a lot going on there, Ben, and I guess we're only seeing the most superficial level of it, but I don't know. I mean, if anyone's ever heard Radio Australia, you probably find that the Chinese are doing us all a favour. Been waiting all episode to do that. But, I mean, who knows what's really going on. There's a lot of posturing at the moment, and there's certainly, dare I say it, a technological conflict. Yeah. As I think the big countries like the US, China, I'm sure Russia's having a go, and I'm sure there are other countries out there as well flexing their muscles. But there's a lot of hacking going on. There's a lot of pushing around there in the dark depths of cyberspace, and I'm sure it's everyone just trying to stake their claim and just show don't mess with us or we'll mess with you.
Absolutely. All right, and our final news bite from Variety, and we have a new pope, as I'm sure everyone knows, but he faces
a round of applause.
Yes. But he faces a new media challenge. Now, while the election of Pope Francis was welcomed by global media as a fresh start for the scandal-ridden Catholic Church on Thursday, some questioned if the new pontiff will be up to the communications challenge the Vatican faces in the digital age. He does not use internet and is not present on social networks. However, I believe the Twitter account for the Pope went down after I can't remember his name, but the previous Pope resigned, and then they reactivated it somehow with this new guy's profile. I shouldn't be so casual when talking about the Pope, but I'm finding this story quite amusing. But
I find it hilarious, Ben. Why would he want to go on Twitter? If FiST Chat could give Pope Francis some advice, don't. stay off Facebook as well.
Yeah, just get out there and get out with the people. Don't interact with them virtually.
That's right.
But is this because, like any of us that want to get a message across, we have to resort to these mediums?
Well, yeah, and this gets back to what we were talking about in the first part of the show today. It's amazing. People believe that they have a right to be heard. And I don't disagree with them necessarily. If you've got the head of the church, the Catholic Church, and it's the Pope, and I'm a Catholic, and I want to have my view heard, why shouldn't I? Shouldn't he? In this day and age, we don't accept anymore that our leaders are distant. Prime ministers are on Twitter.
Yeah.
Presidents, all sorts of people are on Twitter, and it's seen as a bit of a snub to your constituents if you're not. So, I mean, personally, if I was him, I'd stand strong and stay the hell off social media. But there would be an argument in today's modern age that he should be in Google Plus right now to hang out, and everyone should be able to hang out with him.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, I think we better wrap it up because this is our biggest FiST chat ever. I think fittingly that we've done it on Google Hangouts. So thanks again for the chat. Lots of good stuff to cover there.
Absolutely, and I think we've just got enough time for another round of applause, Ben. Well done.
Oh, that's good. Makes us feel all good, doesn't it? Warm and fuzzy.
It certainly does. FiST Chat fans, tweet us or, message us on Google Hangouts or Plus or whatever, wherever we are, Ben.
And if it allows, we may even hang out with you if it works. Absolutely. All right, so that's it for this week's episode. So we'll catch you next week.